Country Long and Country Yin have been involved in a generational war that's been occurring for decades between the Cyan dragon and the power-thirsty Xiang Liu, the dragon of the Yin country. Currently, none of the soldiers are aware of how many days it's been since this war began. Soldier Xiang gets wounded in battle but is saved by General Ling Tianlai. Suddenly, Xiang wakes up in General Si Tu Deng's camp. Tu Deng wants to inquire about updates on the war front. We are then taken to a flashback when Xiang was saved by General Tianlai. Tianlai then displays his ultimate powers as the host of the Cyan dragon by taking out a good number of the Yin soldiers single-handedly. Afterward, he leads the shield team further to the battlefront, where they're able to eliminate a good number of the Yin soldiers. During this time, the Yin Special Forces, each wearing a unique type of mask, proceeds to summon their god Xiang Liu to aid them in battle. After chanting some spells, the creature emerges with multiple heads, each about 10 feet tall, and starts to attack the Ling soldiers. General Ling Tianlai then uses the best of his powers, fueled by their own god, the Cyan dragon, to take on the beast Xiang Liu. But Tianlai is already too weak to fight and gets wounded gravely. His subordinate, Xiang, whom he had earlier saved, rushes towards him. Tianlai knows that his time is almost up, so he transfers the Cyan dragon to Xiang and asks him to go to the capital and find his sister. Xiang hesitates for a moment at the thought of abandoning his master, but the general urges him to go immediately. Following that event, Tianlai gets obliterated by the special forces. Back to the present day, General Tu Deng urges Xiang to leave for the capital immediately and to let Tianlai down. A while later, Xiang is riding for the capital. Meanwhile, in the capital, Liang Tianlai's sister, Ling Xuanji, is busy training her subordinates when a messenger comes to inform her that she's been called at the council hall. At the council hall, before Xuanji's arrival, the ministers are bickering about their impending doom with the passing away of the Cyan dragon's previous host. Finally, Xuanji arrives and is given a letter that was sent by Tu Deng. In the letter, Tu Deng informs Xuanji that her brother and most of the troops are gone. Unfortunately, their enemy is winning, thanks to the help of their god Xiang Liu, but he promises to take his troops and head to the war front to hold them off. That night, while Xuanji is heading back to her home, she's encountered by Xiang, whom she brushes off at first. Xiang then informs her that he is a subordinate of her brother and that he had sent him to meet her. He also shows her the markings on his chest that were made by Tianlai. Seeing this, Xuanji tells him to follow her. On reaching her house, Xuanji tells Xiang that he's the new host of the Cyan dragon. Usually, the dragon picks descendants from the Ling family, so this is actually the first time a stranger is picked as host. She also tells Xiang that as long as the dragon remains in his body, then he will be sapped of his stamina and lifespan. Afraid of what might happen to him, Xiang tells her to take the dragon. But when Xuanji tries to transfer the dragon to herself as host, the dragon refuses. Xiang then complains about not wanting anything to do with being the host, so Xuanji makes a proposal to eliminate him so that the dragon will switch hosts. Xiang then asks how sure she is that getting rid of him will determine that the dragon picks her as a host. She then backs down and suggests teaching Xiang the mantra of their family so he can avoid losing his life and energy completely to the dragon. The following day, the ministers are called to a meeting by the king. Minister Zhang suggests that since the Yin country has become fearless, they should seek help from the northern Xing country. But Minister Shang Long claims that Minister Zhang is only looking for a way to escape by asking to be the messenger to the northern Xing. He also points out that they are at their most vulnerable, so seeking help from another war-inclined country is a bad idea. He then proposes that they show their utmost sincerity by retreating their troops, who are still at the war front. Just then, Xuanji joins them, saying that there's still a string of hope for them. But the ministers claim that without their Cyan dragon to fight against the Yin country's dragon, they are all doomed. Xuanji then informs them that the Cyan dragon still lives and has chosen a new host. She informs them the host is, however, not from the Ling family. But since the situation is dire, she will train the young soldier on how to use the Cyan dragon's powers and take him to the warfront to defeat Xiang Liu. The king then agrees with her idea and abolishes every idea about making peace. That night, Xuan goes back to meet Xiang to inform him that they're heading back to the warfront, and during their journey there, she will train Xiang. Xiang tries to come up with any excuse not to walk to his death, but he has no choice but to comply. An enthusiastic young soldier who works for Xuanji introduces himself as Lu San to Xiang, hoping to get special treatment from the Cyan dragon. Later, Xuanji heads out with two of her best soldiers, Lu San and Qian, a female soldier. And not to forget, Xiang making them 4. The female soldier suggests that it would have been best to go with a good number, but Xuanji tells her that it will only slow them down. Back at the capital, Minister Shang Long meets with an assassin from the Yin Country Special Force. He informs the assassin about Xuanji's plans and their whereabouts. He then claims that he has told them all he knows and doesn't think they should be doing this anymore. But his foolishness costs him his life. Meanwhile, Xuanji and her crew have set up camp, during which Lu San keeps pestering Xiang about the Cyan dragon. Xiang then promises to show him only if Lu San agrees to carry his heavy items and take care of him better. But they're interrupted by Xuanji, who takes Xiang for training. Unknown to them, they're being watched by the assassin, who leaves behind hints for his comrades. The following day, Xuanji teaches Xiang how to turn objects into weapons as one of the power quirks of the Cyan dragon. Xiang learns it fast, but is unable to keep his focus. At some point during the training, Xiang seems to have caught a glimpse of his terrible past but doesn't tell Xuanji. On the other hand, Tu Deng's troops have been reduced on the battlefield, and the rest of them are aiding the wounded Tu Deng back to the camp. The following morning, Xuanji suggests they leave their horses behind and continue on foot. But unknown to them, they're still being followed by the Yin Special Forces, while Xiang tries to discourage Lu San from the size of the monster. Xiang Liu then attacked them. The Yin Special Forces attack them. During this time, Xiang runs off, taking the opportunity to try and escape, but he's pulled back by the Cyan dragon's force. Xiang tells the dragon that unlike them, he's not willing to walk to his demise just like that, so he wishes to go. Meanwhile, Xuanji, Lu San, and Qian are left to fight the men alone. Luckily, before Lu San falls prey, Xiang, under the influence of the Cyan dragon, intervenes. Sadly, he gets wounded, so Xuanji takes him, tells Lu San where they will meet, and leaves with Xiang. That night, Xuanji gets tired of carrying Xiang and drops him to the floor. She tries to eliminate him to end his misery and mostly to change the dragon's host, knowing that if Xiang dies with the dragon in him, then the dragon also dies. But before she can stab him with her sword, she hears him call out to his mother. Frustrated, she sets up camp and tends to his wounds. And while she's asleep, Xiang finally regains consciousness. Meanwhile, Lu San and Qian have arrived at the place they're supposed to meet Xuanji and Xiang. But the duo are nowhere to be found. Lu San then tells Qian that they only have to wait. Back in the woods, Xuanji is awake, and while Xiang is eating, he asks for the others. Xuanji then informs him of what has happened. Xiang then suggests that they go and find them immediately. He assured Xuanji that his wounds no longer hurt, and they both left to find Lu San and Qian. Meanwhile, at Tu Deng's camp, it's revealed that the leader of the Yin Special Forces has eliminated every last soldier, including Tu Deng. After walking for a while, they both arrive at the location where Xuanji has told them to meet her. Initially, Lu San and Qian think they're under attack, but on hearing Xuanji's voice, they both show themselves. Xuanji then hugs Lu San, telling him not to make him worry like that next time. Later that night, Xuanji and Xiang are getting some rest while Lu San and Qian are on the lookout. Out of nowhere, Xiang tries to kiss Xuanji, who catches him and pushes him away. Cyan and Cyan then rushes in to investigate what the noise is, only to find Xiang on the floor. Xiang then tells them not to worry, that he hit a pillar. But Cyan doesn't see any pillars and is perplexed. Xuanji then tells Xiang to come out and train. While training him, Xuanji realizes that it is way too quiet. But before she can react, they're ambushed by the Yin Special Forces who are after the Cyan dragon. In a bid to protect their master and the dragon, Cyan and Cyan sacrifice themselves, while Xiang gets knocked out. After Xuanji has managed to fend them off, Xiang wakes up to find his friends gone. Terrified, he tells Xuanji to come with him to a place where no one knows them, but he gets reprimanded by her. Xiang then reminds her that Cyan and Cyan died to keep them alive, so they can only honor their deaths by staying alive. They get into an argument where Xiang reminds her that even though he has become the Cyan Dragon's host, that doesn't make any of this his problem. And when Xiang intends to storm out, Xuanji collapses from over-bleeding from a wound she had obtained during the fight. Xiang then rushes to help her. The following morning, Xiang buries Cyan and Cyan. Meanwhile, the only surviving member of the Yin Special Forces returns to report to their master with the stolen Cyan Dragon Stone they had managed to get last night. Later that night, Xiang goes to check up on Xuanji, only to realize that she's not in the room. He then follows the sound of her flute and joins her in the woods, where she reveals that the flute is the only toy her brother gave her when she was young. She tells him that throughout her childhood, she had to go through rigorous training in preparation for being the Cyan Dragon's next host. She then admits that Xiang was right when he said that being the host doesn't make any of this his business or burden. But in any case, she still tells him that he has a choice whether to run away or not. She then asks him what he'll be doing when the war is over. Xiang tells her that he'll travel through all the mountains and find the one most pleasing to settle down. He even offers to take her along if she wants, and she agrees. The following day, Xiang wakes up to find a note left behind by Xuanji, who's already on her way to the enemy's base. Meanwhile, Xuanji arrives at the enemy's base where she battles the soldiers around and takes their leader head on. But when she finds herself in a tight spot, Xiang comes to help her. Together, they take in the leader of the Yin Special Forces. But it can't be that easy. During their battle, Xuanji gets mortally wounded, but in her last moments, she tells Xiang to stay alive. Xiang then attacks the man and takes Xuanji in his arms, but he is taken by surprise when the man guts his sword through Xiang while stepping on Xuanji. Xiang asks him to let her go, but he continues to taunt Xiang and promises to make him meet her soon. At the same time, he summons Xiangliu, who emerges and swallows Xuanji. With this, Xiang's anger causes a sudden surge of power that helps him awaken the Cyan Dragon's powers. He eliminates Xiangliu's first head and attacks the Yin soldier. And all the while, he gets flashbacks of the moment he became the Cyan Dragon's host, to meeting Xuanji and his foolishness for letting her slip out of his hands, just like that. He effortlessly subdues the Yin soldier, but before he can finish him off, the soldier summons the rest of Xiangliu's head and starts attacking Xiang. Xiang uses his anger for everyone he has lost to fuel his energy, and in return, he's able to defeat the ruthless Xiangliu after emerging as the victor. He picks up Xuanji, who was spat out during his adrenaline rush attack. As he leaves with her, Xiang tells himself that after the battle, he has finally realized what it was his ancestors have been fighting for centuries. And this is the end. This was a recap of the 2020 movie The Cyan Dragon, directed by Ji Zhangjiang. The movie stars Tong Wai, Q Erking, Zhang Riao, Su Suxia, Cheng Kui, Zhang Yin, and Yin Shousheng. So who else thought it was annoying for Xiang to only unlock the dragon after everyone dear to him had been eliminated? Also, who else was looking forward to shopping Xiang and Xuanji? Let us know in the comments below with #CinemaRecap. Until next time.